Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Silver Mont, and this is my review of Titanfall 2. As with all my reviews, I'll start off with a quick disclaimer, but if you want to get straight into the review, hit the annotation on screen now, or jump to the time in the description. Thanks. I received 3 codes for Titanfall 2 from EA, straight out of the blue at that. I've had no prior contact with EA and was under no obligation to make a video on it. I never played the first Titanfall and I knew absolutely nothing about Titanfall going into it, other than that it had a campaign, which the first game did not. That said, I thought I'd try the game out and see how it is, and if I had strong feelings about it, positive or negative, I figured I'd make a video to talk about it. Plus, I've got 2 extra codes that I might as well give out. So, I received the game for free, but was under no obligation to cover the game. EA and the developers are clearly confident in their product, and my initial impressions are that they have every right to be. So, let's get into the review. I'll talk first about the campaign and then touch on multiplayer a little, and then detail how you might get your hands on these extra copies I have at the end. And I'll try to avoid any spoilers for the campaign, so no worries there. Unlike the first Titanfall, the sequel has a campaign. From my vague memories of the first game's press demos, the developers remarked that most of the story would be told in the multiplayer, with a sort of hybrid system. It was an interesting idea, although one that I don't believe works for one main reason. During multiplayer, the player tends to be entirely focused on things other than the story, whether it's talking to friends or just focusing on the gameplay, so I for one am pleased that Titanfall 2 has a traditional campaign. It's single player only, and I don't believe there's any plans to change that. I beat the campaign over 2 days, and I estimate it around 5 to 8 hours, about average for an FPS campaign. Simple thoughts? I enjoyed the campaign. A lot. As a matter of fact, Titanfall 2 has one of the best FPS campaigns I've played in a while, and no, I have not played Doom 2016. It was a very pleasant surprise though, as I went into the game with absolutely no expectations. The story is a fairly standard affair, nothing about the plot or characters stand out as being particularly engrossing, yet they deliver a solid story that doesn't drag on or feel too short. The cast is fairly small and most of your attentions will be on your Titan, a BT. There are a lot of robotic character cliches here, such as BT not quite understanding sarcasm or certain human phrases, but they build the relationship between the player character and his Titan well enough. If you watched my Gears of War 4 video not long ago, yeah, this is a great contrast to that. The development in Gears of War 4 was terrible, whereas Titanfall 2 handles it much better. Will you be attached to these characters by the end? Are they extremely memorable? Not particularly, but at least for the course of the game I found myself interested and caring to some extent, and that's all it really needs to do. How about the gameplay? Well, Titanfall 2 is somewhat faster paced than games like Battlefield or Call of Duty, and almost reminds me of Quake in some ways. You are equipped with a jump pack that allows you to double jump, wall run and slide. Momentum is important in Titanfall 2, and you can build up some nice speed if you're good. Disclaimer, I am not good, as you're probably seeing from the gameplay, yet Titanfall 2 has a high skill ceiling I believe, and I would definitely recommend the game on PC. Keyboard and mouse would shine here. That said, I had no trouble controlling the game on PS4. There's quite a lot of platforming in Titanfall 2, and although I hate platforming, and I hate FPS platforming most of all, I don't think I swore once during the entire game at a missed jump. I'm genuinely impressed that I found a game with first-person platforming that actually feels good. Outside of your mobility options, you have a fairly standard FPS game. 2 weapons, grenades, melee attacks, and so forth. The weapon variety in Titanfall 2 is, once again, fairly standard. Shotguns, rifles, snipers, pistols, explosive, light machine guns, and so forth. There are some rather cool weapons here though, and I was pleased with the selection. I never found that I was stuck with a rubbish weapon that I hated using. Your character is also equipped with stealth camo that you can use in danger or, to sneak up on enemies. But how about the titular Titans? At least during the campaign you have just the one Titan available to you, BT. He accompanies you throughout most of the campaign, and when directly available, you can enter and leave the Titan nearly at will. And whilst controlling him, you have a bunch of different loadouts that change your weapons and abilities, but each loadout generally consists of a weapon, defense function, such as holding up a shield that absorbs and reflects projectiles, a utility function, such as shooting out a drone that will scan and mark nearby enemies, and what is essentially a super ability. Once charged, it will unleash a devastating attack. Could be an immense laser beam that is channeled for several seconds, my personal favourite, or a salvo of rockets. Either way, they feel quite satisfying to use. The Titan in general feels good to control. It has a sense of weight to it, and yet it doesn't feel clunky. Although it does of course mean that the story regularly has to come up with excuses for you to be separated from your death-dealing machine. They never feel too hackneyed though, and sometimes they are rather amusing. Overall, the gameplay feels really solid. Whilst the comparison might perplex some, I was occasionally reminded of the game Vanquish whilst playing Titanfall 2. Both are fast-paced shooters that I felt, well, rather incompetent at most of the time, and both the games that you'll be able to find extremely skilled players making montage videos on YouTube for. How about the actual campaign though? As mentioned, I enjoyed the campaign a lot and was extremely surprised at how good it was. The campaign regularly comes up with new gimmicks for you to keep the experience fresh and exciting, and they never rely on using the same trick too many times. Gears of War 4 Storms. I don't want to spoil what sort of gimmicks you're experiencing, but if you've already played the game, you know what's up. The time level. Titanfall 2 is full of set-piece moments that impressed me. I remember early into the game thinking, this is a nice idea, but will they be able to keep it up? And, well, lo and behold, they did. Unlike certain other FPS campaigns, Titanfall 2 doesn't rely too heavily on cutscenes and scripted events. You know what I mean. The moment in Call of Duty 4 near the end where you crash on the bridge, or the nuke moment earlier in the game. Segments where you are effectively just watching a slightly interactive cutscene, and your interactions don't really matter all that much. Off the top of my head, Titanfall 2 has, well, two moments like that. One at the start of the game, one at the end of the game. Besides that, you're almost always in control, and that is very satisfying. I only played the game on the default difficulty, so I can't comment too much on that, but there are 4 difficulty settings, and you'll also find collectibles during the campaign that you can pick up, if you are so inclined. The level design during the campaign is, well, it's high quality. Thanks to your extreme mobility, you have many ways to deal with the terrain and situations thrown your way. Are you going to fight the enemies in a traditional manner, fight from behind cover and slowly push them back, slow yet safe? Or are you going to wall slide behind them and become a fast-moving tornado of death? The levels accommodate several ways through them, and they feel open enough to let you experiment. I'd rate the campaign highly, and if they ever make a Titanfall 3, I might pick it up just for that. I don't knock the game for not having co-op, but I would like to see a co-op mode in a future title or as DLC, perhaps as a mini-campaign designed for 2 to 4 players, somewhat like how Splinter Cell has tackled co-op campaigns in the past. In truth, I'm genuinely struggling to think of anything I disliked about the campaign. Sure, the writing wasn't amazing, nor was the story mind-blowing, but those aren't negatives, it's only something they can improve upon. Even if I am to criticise the rather weak supporting cast, that would feel like a nitpick. The game clearly focuses on the main character and BT, and their relationship as pilot and Titan. One other suggestion I can think of along with the co-op, it might be nice if the player had some sort of progression system, but even then I'm undecided. It's a nice change in Titanfall 2 that they give you all of these tools and just let you go ham with them from the beginning. Or well, the first 30 minutes. I don't think I'd enjoy having to unlock them slowly, and yet at the same time, having something to progress and upgrade could be nice. Perhaps even just a weapon upgrade and mod system. As it happens, there are weapon mods in the multiplayer, and I'll speak about that briefly before closing up here. The multiplayer is probably the main draw here, so I felt compelled to at least play a few hours of it. There's a variety of modes in TF2, but I mostly played Attrition, a fairly standard team deathmatch kind of affair, and Last Titan Standing. Everyone is in Titans, and well, kill the other Titans. There are dozens upon dozens of things to unlock. Titans, Titan mods, Titan skins, weapon skins, banners, emblems, weapon mods, different weapons, and so forth. It seems that most of the gameplay impacting unlocks, such as, weapons and Titans, are obtained relatively quickly, which is nice. Doesn't seem like the kind of game where someone who has played for 200 hours has the best gun that will demolish new players, for example. In multiplayer matches you build up your Titan meter and then call it in. You can also jump on enemy and friendly Titans to give them batteries, which are, health, or steal batteries, and so forth. You can also obtain a grappling hook in MP. Combined with the enemy Titans, it rather aptly reminded me of Attack on Titan. You're swinging around these giant mechs trying to land on them and latch onto them, steal their batteries, whilst hoping they don't turn you into red paste. I had the most fun in Last Titan Standing, because when you are out of your suit in Titanfall, the game is... how to put it? The time to kill is too low or fast for my personal preference. What do I mean by that? Well, you'll be running around in a map and somebody shoots you from behind. You're dead before you have a chance to react. 9 out of 10 times, no chance to react whatsoever. I'm not saying this type of gameplay is bad, and I know people will say it's part of the game, you need situational awareness, you need to be looking at your radar, you need to be talking with your team, and so forth. I know, I get that. It's just not much to my personal liking. I prefer games where you have a chance to react and reverse the tables even if someone gets the drop on you. That's why I prefer the Titan mode. Even if somebody catches you unawares, it's possible to turn the tables, as you have a much beefier health pool whilst in Titan, obviously. So, it's not a flaw with the game, it's just something I'm not personally too fond of. I don't enjoy games where I feel half my deaths are unavoidable because of chance or luck. I would be interested in custom game types where you have way higher health pools as a pilot, but of course, I'm sure there's a fairly high skill ceiling in the multiplayer thanks to the many mobility options at your disposal, and I bet as we speak someone is putting together a montage of awesome stuff. And it seems there's plenty of staying power in the multiplayer. If you get into it, you'll have things to unlock for a long, long time. So that's the campaign and multiplayer covered. All in all, I think Titanfall 2 is a good game. I'm surprised with how much I enjoyed it. Even if you're not interested in the multiplayer, I would definitely recommend it just for the campaign. A rent, for example, if you like FPS campaigns and all. Speaking of which, I have 2 copies to give away on PC. I believe these are codes that you're going to put in on Origin. How can you get your hands on them? Simple. Bring up Twitter and send me a screenshot of your Origin client. I want to make sure these codes are going to people who are actually going to use them and not just sell them on. So, send me a screenshot on Twitter or send it to my email of your Origin client's game library screen where you preferably don't already have the game, and I'll randomly select 2 people a week from when this video goes out and send you the codes. My Twitter is thesilvermont, and you'll find a link to it in the description of this video, or if you want to send it by email, you can find that on the About page of my channel. Good luck, thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Oh shit, one's rodeoing me.
Shit. Oh wait.
Okay, we got it.
I didn't even do anything.
Hold on my battery, what a dick.
What is that? Oh god. Okay. I was like, what's even... Oh, they were only 4.
Alex's laser. It's the best.
Ooh, Doug got a kill.